While the immediate concern in regard to Hurricane Irma is, of course, the safety of those who are still in its path, those who have already been hit by it, here at TYT, we've made very clear that we are not going to ignore the connection between climate change and extreme weather events. And we're not going to wait until some date that they say is acceptable to start talking about what we should do as a civilization to stop more of these hurricanes from developing in the way that Irma did. But unfortunately, there are some in the media who are ignoring that connection. And there are some in government who are actively trying to shut that conversation down before it even gets going. And so first, we're gonna go to the EPA. So Scott Pruitt is the head of the EPA. Unfortunately, it seems like his mortal enemy is the environment and he wants to do all that he can to destroy it. Said this recently: to have any kind of focus on the cause and effect of the storm versus helping people or actually facing the effect of the storm is misplaced. To discuss the cause and effect of these storms, there's the place and time to do that. It's not now, it's some other time, like after some sort of mass shooting. Of course, why would you talk about guns then? It's inappropriate, you should wait 6 months or something like that. He also said this: Congress should address that at some point, talking about climate change, and Congress hasn't. All I'm saying is to use time and effort to address it at this point is very, very insensitive to this people in Florida. It's very insensitive, and he's a sensitive soul, okay? His background with fossil fuel companies, that has nothing to do with it. He's just worried about people's feelings, that's it.
Yeah, now imagine if they applied the same service standard to 9/11. It would be insensitive to talk about the people who did 9/11 and what caused 9/11. So let's not, hey, CNN, everybody else, don't talk about what might have caused 9/11. Let's just be sensitive to people and never mention it.
Yeah.
Exactly. Okay, that would have been insane. So in this case, it's not a who, it's what caused the hurricanes and what caused them to be more severe.
There are a few who's I could point out.
Yes, including some of his donors. But if you don't talk about that now, when do you talk about it? It's not like Scott Pruitt ever came out at another time and said, hey, by the way, guys, I just want to let you know, there's no storms going on right now, or fires or droughts. By the way, good luck trying to find that time. Yeah. So I think this is the appropriate time to talk about climate change. And let's figure out, is it real, is it not real, is it man-made or not? And it's, no, there's never an appropriate time for him.
Yeah.
And he says this is the most inappropriate time because this is the time when people are paying attention.
Exactly.
And one of his theories is you can't talk about it then. Later, if you bring it up randomly, he'll be like, why are you bringing it up randomly?
Right. So, like, again, with gun control in the wake of mass shootings.
Exactly. So I have a plan. Okay, you and Scott, we're not going to talk about Hurricane Irma and what might have caused that. But luckily, we've had now about a week since Hurricane Harvey. So we can now talk about Hurricane Harvey and how climate change clearly made that storm worse, according to every scientist in the world. That is why it was the largest rain event in United States history. But now we're perfectly sensitive to everyone that was involved. And okay, you get the point. But I'll say one more thing about it, which is that, look, if you or your family was affected by this or devastated by it, and over 60 people died during Hurricane Harvey, God knows how many people are gonna die already, 38 dead because of Hurricane Irma. And if it didn't happen in the US, it doesn't mean it doesn't happen. And unfortunately, it is gonna happen in the US, it's coming to hit Florida right now. You should be angry. So if you got affected by 9/11, you had every right in the world to get angry. And if you get affected by these storms, they are not a coincidence. And there's nothing you could do about it, and God works in mysterious ways. Storms have always existed. They are now clearly more severe, according to almost every scientist in the world, and causing far more damage, including the people who died in these storms, because of climate change. Yeah. Man-made climate change, largely driven by the fossil fuel industry, which wrote a lot of checks to Scott Pruitt and to fellow attorneys general in the Republican Party to cover up. And Scott Pruitt from time to time would literally take memos written by fossil fuel industry lobbyists and then put them on the record as if it was his own letter. He's a gross, gross guy.
Yeah.
What he's saying is, look out for my sensitivity.
And last thing, I know we're late, but I just want to make the point that his statement, where he plays off talking about the causes versus helping those people who've been affected is ridiculous to begin with. We're not saying you shouldn't be helping. It's not as though we can't continue to help those people affected while talking about the causes. This is not one or the other. It's not one versus the other.
Yeah.
I love that. That's a strategic bullshit play.
Yeah, and look, I'll go back to it's a conservative thing. They seem to have a very limited idea of how empathy is supposed to work. But as I pointed out on a walk and talk I posted on my Facebook last week, I can care about the victims of the hurricane that's happening right now, and I can also care about the victims of the next 10 hurricanes, the next 100 hurricanes, because they're coming. We don't know exactly where they're going to land. We don't know what we're going to call them, but they are coming and they are going to be severe, and I want to help those people as well.
Help us build independent media together. TYTnetwork.com/join.